I am going to share with you my full process from start to finish of what I do with my items. This is my perfect Poshmark processing process. I hope that you will join me for the whole video so that you can kind of get an idea of how I handle things from start to finish. Now, my business might look a little bit different than yours because I buy in bulk, but I am going to include like thrift store situations so that way we can kind of cover everything. So buckle up, maybe get your something. I've got my coffee here that's probably cold by now. Yeah, it's pretty cold. But let's talk about this. Download your free reseller resource guide today. I constantly update and share with you discounts, favorites, tools, and resources to help you with your reselling business. After the video, click the link in the description and get your totally free guide today. So we're talking perfect Poshmark processing process. And I've done other videos with the perfect Poshmark, whatever, perfect Poshmark listing, perfect Poshmark item, perfect Poshmark sales strategy. So check out all of those videos. But this one is about the processing. So you're going to buy stuff at the thrift store, or you're going to get a box or a pallet that you've purchased from, Helpsy stores or Boutique by the Box or whatever. So you're going to get your items, because I can't do the sourcing part because all our sourcing is different. So you get your items, right? Now, what I like to do is not have piles and things waiting around. I process pretty quickly. And I think overarching with all of this is that you should be processing your items. If you go to the thrift store and dump the bag, and then you dump more bags, and you go back to the thrift store and you dump more bags, and there's things sitting, and then there's piles, and then you have to sort it all and then do all of that silly stuff, you need to find ways to stop doing all that. So one of the ways that I stopped doing all of that was I don't bring it in the house. Like, I don't keep those things. I don't buy flawed items. I don't buy items I need to wash. I don't do things like that. When I get a pallet and I'm sorting it, all those things are going away immediately. I'm not bringing them into my home for me to make piles and do things. It's going to get sorted and it's going to get gone. It gets boxed up and sent to ThredUp. It gets dropped off at the Goodwill. It goes to a buy-sell trade store, whatever. So I think the point is, get the items that you are intending to sell, and only those items. That starts with your perfect Poshmark processing process. So get all your items. Now I'm looking at it right here. I have a rack. I have one clothing rack. I have a set of 50 hangers for tops, set of 50 hangers for bottoms, and I hang everything up immediately. This helps with wrinkles. This just kind of helps with processing. And so most of the time, if I get the items in, or I do go to a thrift or whatever, I won't immediately hang them, but by the end of the night, I will hang them. Usually, because I'm a mom and I have other things, we have homework to do and baseball practice and all these things, I will hang items at night. So that's like a mindless task. I can put on a YouTube video and watch it, or a Netflix or whatever, watch it and hang items. And it's kind of mindless, and it doesn't require brain power, and I can just hang everything up at night. So I like to do that. That's my like nighttime mindless thing to do. So if items come in during the day, at night I will hang them. And I'll get them all hung up, and I will take a minute to just put tops together, bottoms together, or if I know it's all one brand so that it's easier for my virtual assistant to list, I will do a minimal amount of sorting on the rack. I don't do a lot of sorting in the piles and the things like I've talked about. You guys have heard me say, like, don't spend a lot of time reorganizing your death pile or prioritizing your death pile. I just don't believe in that. Focus on productive tasks. So I hang everything at night as like a mindless task. So everything's hung up, and the next day when I'm ready to go take photos, it's all there, it's all ready. I also have my photography setup out and available at all times. This works for me. I have a reseller room. It took me like 3 years of reselling to negotiate the reseller room, but when I finally got it, it was amazing because I didn't have to pull the lights out, put the backdrop up, hang the thing, do the thing, go here, go there. That was a lot of wasted time and effort. So I do believe that if there is any way that you can negotiate, if you live with someone, if you have a husband or a wife or whatever, and they don't want you to have all your crap out all the time. If you can negotiate a space for your reselling business where you can have a clothing rack to have the clothing hung up, and again, I'm saying clothing, but it's whatever you sell. Have your clothing hung up. have your photo area out and available to you at all times. Like at any point, I could come in, take a photo, and then leave. And I could be in and out in 5 minutes. That should be your goal, because it just cuts out on all of that wasted effort and energy of all the setup over and over again. So everything hung up, photo setup, always set up. Now you guys know, if you haven't seen prior videos, I use photo measurements forms to do my measurements. And so those are available in my Etsy shop, or they're available in my academy. You can download my form, or you can make your own form. I believe that the perfect Poshmark processing process should include a photo ready measurements form, because I find it to be the fastest, most efficient way to deal with measurements, both at the photography level and at the listing level, in my opinion. You don't have to do that, but consider it, because if you're doing, photos of the measurements on the item, I don't love that. I think it takes longer and isn't as efficient. If you're doing it some other way, maybe you're using a whiteboard or whatever, I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you're typing them all out in your listings. I feel like all of those are very inefficient. I've done them all and I just don't agree. So consider the photo ready measurements form and consider it to be done this way. So I have everything hanging. I have my lights set up. I have my command hook. And so I will hang up 5 items on the hook. I'll just take 5 items from the rack and I'll put them on the hook, one in front of the other, because it can handle about that many. If it's like coats, then I would probably only do 3, but I hang up all 5. I take 5 of my forms and I measure all 5 and write down the measurements. That way I've batch done 5 photos, all done. And all the forms are lined up on my desk so that I see this is item 1, this is item 2, this is item 3, 4, 5. All the forms are there, so that when I go to take the photos, I know which one goes with which item. Take those items, put them back on the rack. And this saves me, the reason why I do that is it saves me from walking from the rack to the hook and then back again to do one item and then back again. So I'm doing 5 with the same amount of steps as it takes to do 1. And you guys might be thinking, oh my God, Rebecca, you're ridiculous. Who cares if you do a few steps? Well, it takes time. It takes effort. And it's not like I don't want the steps. I like doing my exercise steps. But when I'm photographing, I want to be in and out. I want to do it as fast as possible. And this is one of the ways I've tested over time for it to be fast. So I put all 5 items there. I take measurements of everything. I write it all down on the form. I hang them back up. Then I'll go and take one of those items, put it on the hook, photograph it, photograph the measurements form, pack it up, and put it underneath my desk. And I have an IKEA bag waiting to collect all the items. And if you don't know, I believe that the chronological numbered system for inventory is the fastest and easiest and most efficient system. I have a separate video about that. And so all of my items are getting pre-packaged in plastic resealable bags, like these. So all my items go in this, all of them have a number. These are ones that have been used already. Like maybe I sold a bundle and so I put 2 in 1 and keep the bag, because who needs to waste all your bags? I always keep these on the side because sometimes I have items that need to go in a bag that aren't in a bag, a multiple quantity listing or something. So I always keep these off to the side. But those are the bags I use, and they're already at my station. And so I take one item, I photograph it, and I can tell you what I photograph if you want. So I photograph it, I take the photo measurements form photo. So now all my photos are done. So I fold up the item, I can weigh the item, I put it in the plastic bag. It already has a number on it, so the numbers have already been applied to all the bags. And I put my thank you card in there. And everything is done. So that item is 100% ready to ship at this point. It's folded, it's in its plastic bag, it has its thank you card. So I don't really need to do anything else with that item ever again. It's ready. And it goes in the bag, and the bag is numbered. So whatever stack of numbers I'm working on, which I do them in 25s. I go over this in the inventory video. So it's 1 through 25 in one bag. Next bag is 26 through 50. Next bag is 51 to 75. Next bag is 76 to 100. And it just keeps going. I want to make you aware of the hottest, the best deal I have ever offered in my Rebecca the Reseller Academy. To find it, all you have to do is scroll all the way down to the bottom and you will find this right here. Hot deal, best value, all courses and digital downloads for life. This is it, friends. This is as good as it's going to get. I'm giving you everything I have in my academy, all the digital downloads, all the courses for just $20. The best part is if I create a new digital download going forward, you will get it absolutely free. This is the time to lock in the best deal I have ever offered. All you have to do is go to Rebecca the Reseller Academy, scroll down to Hot Deal, and purchase it for $20. If you're wondering what comes in this, it's everything. So you're going to get all of my courses, and you're also going to get all of the digital downloads that I've created, including my keywords list, my listing forms, my Poshmark closet signs, everything that I have created, and everything that I ever will create will be yours for literally $20. So there's always going to be 25 items in a bag, and I'll put all 25 items in there as I'm photographing. When that bag is full, it just goes to my storage unit right on the shelf. I don't have to find numbers. I don't have to see what's available, A24, B12, and none of that. That's why the chronological numbering system is so great, because you just shove it on your shelf. Anyway, so I take photos of the item, photo form, pack it up, put it in the bag. One item is done. Now, let me just backtrack to tell you what photos I take, because I don't know if I've done that video. So the photos I take, and I'm looking at the item, I have a Tommy Bahama dress hanging up because it helps me jog my memory. So I take the full front, I take like the neckline, I take the top half, I take the bottom half, I take any details that I need to on the front. So sometimes it's the shoulder, sometimes it's the sleeve or cuff, sometimes it's ruching, sometimes it's the hem, whatever details on the front I need to show. Then I'll go to the tag. So I'm usually looking at the brand tag and the size tag or any new with tags. Then I'll flip the item over. I'll do the back. And if I need to, any details on the back, most of the time it's not a lot of details on the back, but maybe the zipper or whatever, or like the jeans pockets. And then whatever other tags are there, whether I'm looking to get the style numbers or the fabric care, fabric content, those kind of tags. And that's pretty much it. Then I take the item off the hanger, come to my table, and take a photo of the measurements form on the item. That way the person gets, well, I can confirm that it's all the right item and everything, but also that the person can see sometimes then the details of the fabric up close. Like let's say there's a print or a texture to it or something, they will see that when they're looking at the photo ready measurements form on top of it. And then I fold up the item, put the thank you card in, all of that. So that's one item. But remember, I photographed 5 items all at once. So I did photograph one item. I do the exact same process for the second item, exact same process for the third, fourth, fifth. Now I've got 5 items down in my bag. I've gone through all 5 of those forms. Those go off to the side because I do front and back on the form. I don't have one over here, but I do front and back on the measurements form so I can use them again. And everything is done for those 5 items. Then I'll take the next set of 5 items. I'll hang them up, I'll measure those. I'll put the measurements forms down, and I just do that over again. So I'm basically doing batches of 5 over and over again until I fill up my bag and I get 25, and then that bag will go to my storage unit and get hung up on or placed on a shelf. And, you know, I would do that for however long I was doing the photos or however many items I had on the thing. Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, I'm trying to do 10 items in 30 minutes. So that's kind of like my goal, is over the summer especially, or, you know, during the school year, I might batch photos and do 200 in a day or something like, you know, something crazy. But most of the time, I'm doing 10 a day. That seems to be a good number for me when I need to get in and get out. And I can do that in 30 minutes or less, which averages about 3 minutes per item to get it from measurements to photographs to packing it up to it being in the bag and done. So I think that that's a good, like you might be able to photograph a little faster, might take you a little bit longer, but you want to try to get good at a 10 item realm. Because for you, if you do 10 items a day, that's your day's worth of work. How quickly can you do it? In 30 minutes? Great. Bing, bang, boom. If you a listing a day because you're part-time or something, that almost gets you 2 weeks worth of listings for 30 minutes. So you can go to the thrift store, get 10 items, do your photographs for 30 minutes, boom, you've got listings for the next almost 2 weeks. That's great. So I think it's good to kind of do it in that sort of 10 batch format, or 5 adding up to 10, so that you can get a feel for how long does it take you and what your time is worth, and can you get faster at it. So I recommend trying to do 5 item and 10 item blocks and see how that goes for you. And that way you can know what else you can do and can you get faster. Once my items are done, all the photos are in my phone. They get backed up to Google. I do Google Photos, and so they get backed up automatically. And I have my virtual assistant access to those Google Photos. So I'll put them all in a folder and send her the folder. And so she has all of those items, photos, and she'll use the photos to draft the listings in Vendoo for me, and then I'll review them and make them live on Poshmark, and then we go from there. So that's our system. Now for you, you might have a different system there because you might not use Vendoo, although I think you should. You might list directly in Poshmark from your phone. You can do that. I don't think that that's the fastest, best way. So there's lots of things that you can do that's going to be different for me. But the photos, go to Google Photos. That's how my virtual assistant gets them onto, the computer and puts them into drafts on Vendoo for me, but you could put them into drafts on Poshmark at that point, and then start creating the listings from there. You would go into your titles, go into your description, and I have that video about the perfect Poshmark listing. And so that's kind of where that video, picks up. But I think the main things with this perfect Poshmark processing process is that I don't have a lot of piles. I don't keep things in bags. I'm not washing and steaming everything. I don't do a lot of sorting and rearranging of items. I just source it, I hang it, I measure it, I photograph it, and then it gets listed and bagged up, then listed. And it's a system, and it's a process, and this is what I do and how it gets done, and it's not different every time. It doesn't take a different amount of time every time. This is the system. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do my system. I've always said that. You don't have to do my system. You should have a system, your system. Maybe it's my system, or you tweak it a little bit, and now it's your system. But you should have a system, because if every time you do it willy-nilly, there's no system, it takes you longer. You have things to think about. You have decisions to make. You have variables to consider. And if you just have a system, you don't have to waste time with all that. You just do it. And if you're a part-time hobby seller, it might not matter and you might not care, and that's fine. Don't have a system. Do what you want. If you're a part-time person, that means you're very busy. You have a job, you're a part-time reseller, you may have a family, you may have hobbies, you may have other obligations. If you're a full-time person, you need to be making this money. So you have an incentive to do this system, or a system, your system, so that you can maximize your time and effort, because online reselling is supposed to be for freedom. It's not supposed to be to bog you down. And there's a lot of things in reselling that can bog you down. And I'm trying to help you not get bogged down in all of the bogginess of reselling. So I want you to have a system so that you get freedom. You could do 10 items, 30 minutes, get out of there. Go live your life. Go live your life now, but don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Posher VA is a tax-deductible business investment that pays for itself many times over each month. It increases Poshmark sales because it shares and sends offers more than I ever could manually. It handles all my shares, automatic offer to likers, bulk offers, and it can do price drops and relists. When my coaching clients add Posher VA, it makes more sales basically immediately. The best part is that you get your time back. More time with family, thrifting, whatever. Get 20% off with code Rebecca the Reseller and the link below.